Hi, welcome back. I'm Bookish Erica, and today we're going to be talking about setting some realistic 2020 goals. I've always been a big goal setter. I love to make lists, I love to write things down, I love to just have an organized plan. But I think that sometimes if we don't goal set the right way, it can end up putting a lot of unnecessary stress and pressure on ourselves. It's a fine line between setting a realistic goal that you think you can actually hit and setting a goal that's more or less unattainable that is just going to stress you out and it's just not worth it. In the past couple of years, I've tried to set this huge book reading goal for the year on Goodreads. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hit it. But if I'm being honest with myself, there's a couple of problems with that. First of all, I'm a huge mood reader, so that's one of the reasons why, if you follow me for a while, you know that I don't do TBRs. I kind of do books that I think I might want to read, but if I'm not into the book and I pick it up just because it's on my TBR and I'm not in the mood to read it, then one, it's going to take me a long time to finish, and two, it's not going to be very enjoyable. So I've just decided to not do TBRs at all. And that kind of flows into my goal setting for this year. Instead of doing this big, massive goal that I may not hit because, one, I'm a mood reader and I don't want to force myself to read when I'm not in the mood because it's not enjoyable. And two, I have 2 children, I work full time, I have my husband, family, we go out and do a lot of family things. My husband and I really only have night times to spend together, so I can't always read every night as long as I would want to. I want to take the pressure off myself so that I still enjoy reading, but I still want to have a goal. I don't want to be goalless, and there are books that I want to read this year, and so instead of doing a set number of books to read, instead I'm going to do a couple of different goals. I did set a Goodreads goal, and I did 15 books for the year, which I know is definitely attainable for me. That's just over a book a month, and I know that I'll definitely read at least one book every month, if nothing else. My actual solid goals though for what I want to read, there are a list of books that I would like to finish by the end of the year. While I'm a mood reader, I know that at some point in the next 12 months, I'll be in the mood to read these books, and those will get taken off my list. The first book that I would like to read, and I've actually already started it, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I know that there are a lot of mixed reviews about this book. I am about, not quite halfway, maybe probably about a third of the way through it, and I am really enjoying it so far. I think that there are definitely a couple things that are still a little confusing to me, but I love the dark academia of the whole thing. It has a good spooky vibe to it. It's a little more creepy than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, definitely has the creepy factor. Anyway, my husband got me this book for Christmas, and I'm enjoying it so far, and this is one of the books on my list. Another book on my list is, there's Wild at Heart, which is the sequel to The Simple Wild, which was a 5-star read for me last year. I absolutely loved it. If you haven't read it, give it a shot. The next book would be, I'd like to finish the Red Rising series. I've read the trilogy piece, but I haven't gone beyond it, mostly because I just don't have the books yet. But the Red Rising series is one of my all-time favorites. Pierce Brown is a genius. He surprises me every time, which is really hard to do. It's very hard for a book to pull one over on me and put something out there that I didn't see coming, and Pierce Brown has done that in every book. So Iron Gold and Dark Age are on my list to buy and read this year for sure at some point. I also just finished reading The Girl in the Tower, which was another 5-star read. The Bear and the Nightingale is one of my all-time favorite books. I absolutely adored it. I know it's not for everybody. It's a very slow pace, atmospheric type of series. It's not so much of the in-your-face action. There's a little bit of that, but you really have to kind of enjoy knowing the background of things and kind of just immersing yourself in the world rather than getting your hands dirty, if that makes sense. The Winter of the Witch is the last book I have to read in that series. I do actually own it, so sometime in the next couple months, I think I'll probably be reading that and crossing that off my list. The Name of the Wind was another 5-star read I had this last year, so I'd like to continue that series. So that's another goal of mine with The Wise Man's Fear. I know that series is not finished yet. It kind of has a whole Game of Thrones, don't know when the next book's going to come out kind of thing, but I did really love it, so I'd like to continue and hopefully it'll get finished. Okay, not so much a specific book, but another goal of mine is I would like to finish the Mistborn series. I loved Mistborn. It was just fantastic. It was great writing. It's adult fantasy. Brandon Sanderson as a whole is someone I would just like to read more of, but since I've already started that series and loved it, I'd like to continue. So aside from specific books, you've been noticing like there's series I want to finish, so specific books are a goal. Another goal of mine is to finish certain series like what I've mentioned. And then a third goal is going to be just reading more of authors that I found and that I love, rather than always reading like the next new release book, which is good too. New releases are great, and I love like getting my hands on a new release and kind of having that hype almost. But I think that discovering older books are just as great as newer books. There are some really, really good authors out there that have wrote several fantastic reads. So part of my goal is if I find an author that I love, such as K.A. Tucker, new author to me this last year, I absolutely loved her. I want to read more of her books, so I'm going to go back to some of her old releases and see if any of them catch my eye and maybe put those on my list to read. Brandon Sanderson, that I mentioned before. He's another one that I've read one of his books. I love his writing style and I'd love to read more of him. Maybe sort of a less known one is Joe Nesbo. He is a Norwegian author. He writes the Harry Hole series, which I've been starting to get into. I've mentioned it a few times on my Bookstagram if you follow me there. But his writing style is fantastic, and I love the Harry Hole series. It's a procedural Nordic noir kind of setting where Harry Hole is a detective in Oslo, and he goes around and tries to catch the bad guys, basically. But I have been really enjoying those, so I would love to keep collecting more Joe Nesbo books and adding those to my reading pile as well. Okay, as for some more non-bookish sort of goals that I want to set for 2020, I'd love to kind of re-hone in my budget, and I've been using this app called EveryDollar. It's a Dave Ramsey app, part of his site. I don't know if any of you know who Dave Ramsey is, but he's a wicked awesome financial guru. He's helped a lot of people get out of debt. I haven't taken any of his courses, but I do love his philosophy, and so I've been using this app which helps you create a budget every month and helps you track your expenses and things like that. So it has been working really well, and I'd like to really just kind of hone that in and stick to it. I'd love to pay off our cars, make extra payments on our mortgage, be able to actually like take trips and things and do fun stuff with our family rather than just kind of living paycheck to paycheck. Along with that, I'd also like to just be less stressed. My whole theme for 2020 is cutting stress out of my life. Whether it's, like I talked about, the whole reading goals, about not putting so much stress on myself to make it so much of like a job or a chore and then I'm not enjoying myself, just having it more relaxed and having these loose, structured goals. In life, I want to try and cut out any unnecessary stresses. So one of those is for meals. I am going to stop putting so much pressure on myself to create these perfect meals every night for my family. If we have to eat a frozen meal one night, it's going to be okay. Doing more crockpot meals, it's going to be okay. And really just stop like putting that self-imposed perfectionism on myself that if I don't have everything perfect, that something's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. My kids will eat. My husband will eat. I'll eat. It'll be fine. And then sort of to go with the no stress theme, just really making sure I'm focusing on things I'm enjoying. Anything that's creating negativity or stress or anything that is not causing me happiness in my life that I have the power to cut out, I'm going to. That includes if I'm not enjoying a book, I'm going to put it down and stop reading it. I know in the past I've kind of forced myself to push through. Doesn't necessarily mean I won't pick that book up in the future. Maybe I'm just not in the mood for it. But that can sometimes cause like reading slumps when I force myself to work through a book that I'm not enjoying, there's so many other books out there, more than we could ever possibly read in a lifetime. So if I'm not enjoying a book, I'm putting it down. If my family doesn't enjoy a meal I cook, I'm not going to cook it again. Those kinds of things. Anything that's like causing negativity in my life that I have the power to cut out, cutting it out. Well, I hope that was helpful. And I hope maybe if you've been feeling stressed about setting goals this year or in the past, haven't really enjoyed doing that, I hope maybe that this helps provide some guidance for you, or maybe gives you some ideas for your own goal setting this year. And yeah, let's make the start of the new decade a good one and stress-free, and just have a good time. Well, thank you all for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.